Good morning, good morning, good morning, Tiara. Good morning, my lovely leaders. Leaders. Thank you for joining me for a morning cup of coffee with your girl Mary May, leadership strategist. And today we are going to jump into talking about how you are managing stress in your leadership. How you are managing stress in your leadership. So I have some notes because I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything because there's a lot of things that you would need to know. But the first thing I want to make sure is that when you when you are engaged in this conversation, however it is that you join this conversation, that you are prepared and equipped to know that you are going to have some takeaways that you can implement right away. And so it's always transformation morning, it's always transformation Tuesday, and the season is when you decide to make that decision around how you're going to activate your leadership effectively. So, again, our focus nugget for this morning is managing stress in your leadership, which requires you to show up and stand in your authority a little bit differently than you may have done, because sometimes we get distracted, we get off schedule, we get a little thrown off centered when stress is in the building. And what I want you to do is to begin to look at stress as a little post-it note popping up to letting you know that something else is possibly going on, and it's possibly letting you know, like a trigger of some sort, in regards to, okay, am I paying attention to everything that's going on around me? Am I being mindful around all of the resources that I have? Is it really the time for me to work on this particular project, or do I need to get up and take a break? So it's like, as you are embracing and understanding what stress is and what it does for you, you got to recognize how it takes score and how it has a role that you have assigned it to really be in control, in management, in, responsibility that kind of takes a shift. A lot of times people think that when you are experiencing stress in the workplace, that you are experiencing stress because of the anticipation of an upcoming challenge, or you're anticipating stress because you don't feel capable or available to doing everything that's necessary for a particular task, when that is actually not always the case. It may sometimes be the case, but it's not that you don't think that you're capable or it's the challenge or whatever. It's usually a sense of dreading the associated availability of time, or continuing to strive at the level that you do with less, like less resources or less time or less, like something that in a sense that you feel is a little on the deficient side of things. And because it has that deficiency, you are questioning if in fact you are able to kind of manage this. That's what you're anticipating. Can you manage this thing that tends to be stressing you in a manner that is going to be successful for you overall? So it's like, it's a post-it note. You know that you're capable because you wouldn't have it on your plate and delegation of things to do. You are that fabulous leader. So you got to think about it. It's not the upcoming challenge. We're always up for new opportunities and new things that's happening. But the thing is that, do we have the time? Is this appropriate time? And are we taking care of our mind and our body as our body is taking score? Our body is taking score. Our mind is taking score. Everything is taking score in regards to how it is that you are choosing to like level up and I want to be motivated and get this task done. But if you're anticipating what the decrease is, or anticipating what you have to strive for while doing less, that becomes the challenge. And then the second part of the challenge is looking at, okay, how is this stress impacting and directing how it is that you lead? So if you are so focused and or distracted by said stress, then are you allowing the stress to lead your day, or are you going to lead the day in your positive energy that you normally have? You have to make that decision and that discernment effectively, because otherwise the stress becomes the boss of you. And when it becomes the boss of you, you become distracted and having challenges and recognizing where it is that you need to be placing your focus, your time, your diligence, and your discipline. So when you look at the impact of stress, the optimal move is really taking inventory and understanding what is the pivot that I need to make that's going to shift my ability to sustain my productivity at working at balancing not only my lifestyle, but my career, my mind, my energy, my exercise, everything around how it is that I'm going to be developed in a certain space. So it's like in this certain space, whatever task it is that you are diligently qualified to lead, are you really positioning yourself in the right strategy platform? And so one of the things that we tend to do as leaders is that we tend to think that everything is on our plate and on our plate alone. And in some cases, it may be on our plate alone because we have activated a strength or a weakness, not necessarily a weakness, but an area that we could improve in, that we are responsible for everything that the project, the task requires. And because of that, we end up ruminating, which only causes us to kind of magnify the situation of what we are identifying as stress to be more have more influence, more energy draining, more of the thoughts and the feelings that's going to take us off key. So it's like as long as we allow those things to take us off key or off centered, we begin to create scenarios on what we experienced in the past, as well as attaching it to negative emotions. And while we are attaching it to those negative emotions, we are not really considering the fact that this is a new situation, a new opportunity, and that we can learn from the things that we identify as those mistakes. However, it's harmful not only to our lifestyle, to our health, but it's definitely harmful to our leadership when we want to choose to be stuck in ruminating and rehearsing those same things over and over and over again. That leans into what you may hear me say at times, that hashtag, the daily divorce of self, because you are taking a moment of inventory, yes, but you're taking an inventory and staying in that negative thought process that's not allowing you to elevate and flourish as you can evolve in a metamorphosis. So when you are taking the opportunity to kind of like think about stuff and overthink, how much time are you spending on just thinking and overthinking about the things that are stressing you, or thinking and overthinking about when you had this moment and this challenge previously, what was the things that went wrong or didn't go so well, or you where you didn't have success. The thing about trying something, successful or not, is that you tried it. You had a plan, you stepped into it, and as you stepped into it, you end up learning other things. The stress comes when you begin to rethink, oh, I didn't consider this. Oh, I began to doubt myself in this particular way. And when you begin to do that, you water down your effectiveness, your confidence, your conviction that you are the leader for this particular situation. And by rethinking it, how much time are you really wasting instead of being productive? Because your productivity is definitely becoming challenged when you are doing certain things like this. Let me just give you a quick little example about how productivity shifts when stress is in the mix. So, not say you're working on a project and you told people not to knock on your door, not to call you, put the phone on do not disturb, all of those different things. If you have a block of time where you are working on a specific situation and you do choose to take that phone call, you do choose to honor or acknowledge somebody knocking on the door, do you realize that it takes you 24 minutes to get back into that zone of focusing on what you were doing as being productive? How many times will you allow in your day that interruption of the block time to have that interruption where 24 minutes of your day is going to take you to reset to get back in that zone? So then that block of time that you have is constantly being moved forward. So when you have moments of stress, we have to look at how are you creating and fixating on situations that you can control, and how are you making sure that you're not allowing your leadership to lead you into burnout, because of the unmanaged stress is just basically a hurricane waiting to happen. The hurricane is waiting to happen because you have honored and given permission for stress to kind of like live in your living room, in your office space, in the meeting that you're having with somebody. You're allowing these past situations to kind of creep up. And the thing is about you have to manage stress and understand that stress only has permission to breathe, live, and exist with you giving it permission to have the space. Now, our body takes score. So I want you to be mindful that as the body is taking score, that you are not being put on pause, or that you're not fixating on these things, and that you're realizing that you have the right of way to kind of avoid that whole burnout situation and recognize how much time you're spending on these ruminating activities, because the time that you're allowing is also inviting stress to dwell and kind of unpack his suitcase and say, this is where we're going to stay. And we never have time to kind of like allow somebody to just unpack their suitcase and unravel right there, right before us. So when you think about when your body is taking score and when your timelines are taking score, how much stress do you want to keep holding on to before you begin to use what has not served you, what has been a bad experience, what you are trying to fix in this go round? What 2 millimeter shift, what mindset thing can you do differently to channel that negative energy into reflection and learning what it is that you can learn or unlearn about your practices, so that when you free yourself from the regrets, you also free yourself from the anxiety of wanting to know the outcome of the future. So the anxiety of thinking and preparing of what is it that the future is going to hold, what's going to be the outcome. We always want those guarantees, especially when we're trying to manage and take away things that's blocking us, like stress. But in your leadership, you have to be mindful that when you are clearing the channel and doing that reflection, that you become more successful and prepared for what lies ahead for you in your future. And then as you begin to get that trust and what lies ahead of you in the future, you begin to understand what's happening on the inside of you is impacting the outside version of your success. But then you begin to develop the trust and confidence in your ability to lead, not only the team, but the project. Everything in your ability, or everything in your actions, everything in the voices and things that you're saying comes with, are you trusting your accountability to really be able to lead us forward? And so stress, think of it as, if you are able to recognize the signs of when your body is letting you know that stress is present, where do you take those breaks? Where do you clear the noise? Where do you understand how you can break that code so that it doesn't impact you into having those 24-minute distractions, of the project time that you blocked out? How many of those can you have in a day? 24 minutes? 2 of those is like almost an hour away from your productivity time. If you are allowing that situation to kind of draw you in, then you have to pay attention. Why does that one situation, why is this one thing that stresses me, this one thing that takes me off, or it's a couple things? Why do I allow it to impact my ability to lead effectively? And so when you think about that, you have to reframe your relationship with stress. because your relationship with stress can also fall into your relationship with procrastination. It could also fall into your relationship of your confidence around the skills that you already have as the leader, but you allow yourself to be challenged in a way that doesn't really exist. Just like breaking that glass ceiling for you to get to that promotion or that level in leadership or securing that next contract, you are debating with yourself, what is your capabilities on ensuring that you can do what it takes for that next level? So in that next level, you have to do the mind shift and create it with strategy that gives you that execution and discipline that's going to help you move forward. So the things I want to give you, I've given some of the nuggets throughout the thread of this conversation, but I want to just be clear. Like if you didn't catch them, these are some of the things that you can do to kind of make sure that you are taking the right reframe energy, the right way of redirecting your relationship with stress, and understanding how stress does not have to be the boss of you when it comes to how you are going to lead unapologetically. You're going to secure that next contract, you're going to secure that next project, and you're going to allow your team to work around you much more effectively because the communication is going to be clear. And so the one thing is that I want you to recognize the signs and the triggers of what the signals of your body is telling you. If your body is telling you to rest, then you need rest. If your body is telling you that, okay, the words and everything is starting to merge together, then you need to get up and take a break away from wherever your workspace is. Maybe take a walk outside, do something that's going to get your mind and senses activated in a different way, and strategically plan when you're going to come back to it. I want you to also think about you as the leader. Yes, you are responsible for the outcome, but what of the opportunities and things that need to be done, what parts of the puzzle needs to get done that you can delegate? Leaders are accustomed to always being responsible for everything. You could be responsible for everything, but it's going to benefit you to delegate out what you can delegate out. Or again, being very strategic in your blocks on when certain parts of the components of what you got to do has to get done. So delegating appropriately. Take time for yourself. I was just saying, go out, take a walk, change your workspace, something like that. Practice mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness can look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. It can be a deep breathing activity. It can be going out to exercise. It can be having some social time with your friends, but be mindful, because if you don't take time for yourself, then you're going to also walk into that conversation that stresses the kissing cousin to, which is burnout. And you as a leader that is burnt out is not effective or showing your capabilities for anyone. So try new routines. So if you've been doing the same routine for every single project, every single day, every single relationship, you need to reassess your relationship with stress. And looking at your relationship with stress, what routines do you have when you become stressed that you need to break up with, that you need to disrupt what that pattern truly is? So delegating the task, being able to see what the problem or the challenge or how we're going to get to the outcome that we desire from a different lens. Yes, you are the leader. Yes, you are the footprint and the signature that's going to say that this is the job well done. But be open to the fact that the way you've always done things is not necessarily the route and the strategy that's going to get you to where it is that you need to be. And not focusing on perfect. We actually learn in our imperfect moments. And the fact that we learn in our imperfect moments, growth actually happens. So embrace the fact that it is perfect for what information that you know walking into the situation. You can dot your I's and cross your T's, but there's going to be something that you can learn from that you weren't able to prepare for. That is not an imperfection. That is actually a lesson and a post-it note that's letting you know how you have allowed to reframe stress, how you've allowed yourself to be open and vulnerable to learning something different, and you're not stressing about it being a new opportunity. Um, and then make sure that you have clarity in the things that you are doing. And with that clarity, have a trusted advisor, a trusted support system that can help you with that survivor to your CEO status, or that survivor and strategy that you need to ensure that you continue to have that balance and strategy working together as you are dealing with this stressful moment. Because the stressful moment can only have as much influence and power to impact your day in the adverse way that you allow it. So take care of your body, learn how and make time to unwind, um, disconnect from reading, watching, say the news or anything that's going to like kind of drain your productivity mind, and make sure that you keep yourself in the most hydrated standpoint as possible. So April is stress management month. So throughout the month of April, we're going to talk about different ways in which you can have the effective coping skills and strategies around managing stress in your leadership, and not allowing the stress to become the boss of you, and being able to redirect how successful that you will be and the outcomes that you will exist in and learn from. So being mindful of stress, name it, understand how it is that it comes into your distractions that take you off key for at least 24 minutes, if not longer, and how it is really redirecting how your productivity is in whatever thing it is that you are working toward and striving towards. You can have multiple fires in the air, you can have multiple projects in the air, multiple things that you're doing, but really you create stress when you're trying to do all things at all times to all people, and not taking care of yourself creates that internalized stress as well as external, because the outcome may be that you begin to become very frustrated, and your body and how you receive your communication, or how you receive people, will become more aggressive. So I want to thank you for joining me here live in this conversation. I hope that it has fed and fueled your cup in regards to how you are managing stress in your leadership, acknowledging what your body is trying to tell you, acknowledging that your body takes score. The way to kind of be in practice to ensure that you're doing something better and different for yourself is that you take a pause, be mindful, take a break, and understand what is it that you are having those moments and conversations of that daily divorce of self on a constant basis. If it's a constant basis, it's every morning throughout the day that you realize that there's some distraction that is constantly causing stress for you, then we need to figure out what we can do to break up our relationship with that, because that will be the antecedent, that will be the trigger that welcomes the stress to come into your productivity part. And the consequences, are you ready for that deadline? So it's like, I would want you to be ready for that deadline as a strategist. I would want to be able to help you support yourself with some side-by-side, situations and consultation. But let's even just do a deep dive and breakthrough to see how it is that as a leadership strategist, manage and helping you manage your stress, helping you to get whatever is in the way, the roadblocks and barriers in your leadership, so that you can recognize that there is no reality to it being a glass ceiling. There is no reality to you not being able to own and position your leadership in the way that you want to manifest it. But the only way to kind of know that is to get that clarity that is necessary to be able to position and plan yourself and be equipped with the personalized strategy for your leadership. I thank you for joining me for another Tuesday morning cup of coffee, leadership nuggets with myself, Mary May. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. I hope that you have a successful week and that you don't allow anything to distract or stress you in this day. Take care.